Once upon a time, in a quiet village at the edge of the green forest, lived a kind little beanie bouncer named Everest. She lived in a beautiful beanie bouncer house with her father Muffin, her stepmother Jumper, and her two little stepsisters, Beanie Bouncer Buzzy and Crystal. The house was large and bright, with flowers blooming by the windows and birds singing in the garden. Everest loved bouncing in the field more than anything. She loved the sound of the birds in the morning, the smell of the grass after rain, and the warmth of the sun on her face. Every day she would help her father in the garden, feeding the birds and caring for the flowers. Her heart was gentle and full of kindness. But one day, everything changed. Her father fell ill, and soon after, he passed away. The house that once been full of laughter and warmth became quiet and cold. From that moment on, Everest lived alone with her stepmother and stepsisters, and life turned very different. Her stepmother was a proud and selfish beanie bouncer. She didn't love Everest and couldn't stand her gentle heart and natural beauty. The two stepsisters, just like their mother, spoiled and vain. They spent their days looking at themselves in the mirror and arguing about everything. As days went by, Everest's life grew harder and sadder. Her stepmother made her do all the work in the house: cleaning, washing, cooking, and mending clothes. From morning until night she never stopped. Her face became pale and she bounces slower and slower. She no longer slept in her cozy bedroom, but in small, cold room under the stairs, a dark little place that was once used as a storage closet. When she felt lonely, she would look out of the small window at the stars and whisper, "Someday I will be happy again." And so the days passed, one after another, quiet and gray. Then, one morning, something exciting happened. A royal message arrived at the village and announced it loudly in town square. By the order of His Majesty, there will be a grand ball at the royal palace. The young Prince Doodle invites all the ladies of the kingdom to attend. He will choose his future bride at the ball. The stepmother and the daughters were thrilled. "Oh, the prince must see me!" cried the Buzzy. "No, he'll fall in love with me!" shouted Crystal. They began to argue and bounce around the house talking about hairstyles. Everest's heart filled with hope. She dreamed of seeing the palace, hearing the music, and bouncing in dance just one in her life. "Stepmother," she said softly, "may I go to the ball too?" Jumper turned and laughed cruelly. "You? To the ball? Don't be ridiculous. You have no manners for such an event. Besides, someone must stay home and clean this house." The stepsisters laughed along, and Everest's eyes filled with tears. She watched as her grandmother and the two sisters bounced for the ball, and house fell silent again. Everest bounced alone by the fireplace, crying quietly. The fire flickered and her tears sparkled in the light. "If only I could bounce for the ball," she whispered. "Just one night." Suddenly, a soft glow filled the room. Everest looked up in surprise. Before her stood Gemma, her fairy godmother. "Don't cry, my dear," Gemma said kindly. "You shall bounce to the ball." Everest gasped. "But how?" The fairy smiled. "My magic will take care of that." She waved her wand and Everest became clean and bright again. Everest laughed with joy. "Enjoy your first ball, my dear," Gemma said kindly. Everest smiled through happy tears. "Thank you, fairy godmother." And with another wave of Gemma's wand, Everest appeared right in the palace. Inside, the ballroom sparkled with hundreds of candles and the sound of beautiful music. The Prince Doodle himself stopped in his tracks. His eyes met Everest's, and in that moment he forgot everyone else. "May I have this dance?" he asked. Everest nodded shyly, and together they bounced in dance across the marble floor. The music slowed, and it felt as like a time had stopped. Everyone watched in awe. Everyone except the stepmother and stepsisters, who could not believe it's Everest. The Prince Doodle whispered, "You are the most beautiful and wonderful Beanie Bouncer I have ever met. Who are you?" Everest only smiled. "Just someone who bounced to dance." Hours passed like minutes. The stepmother fumed with jealousy, realizing that Everest had captured the prince's heart. Prince Doodle and Everest stopped bouncing from the dance. "I loved you from the moment I saw you. Will you marry me and become my princess?" said Prince Doodle. Everest smiled and said, "But I'm just a simple Beanie Bouncer with nothing to offer." The prince smiled. "You have the kindest heart of all. That is everything I could ever wish for." The stepmother were enraged and left with crying stepsisters following her, never to come back. And so, the Prince Doodle and Everest married in a grand celebration that filled the kingdom with joy. The stepmother and stepsisters left the castle in shame, never to trouble Everest again. From that day on, Everest lived happily with her Prince Doodle in the royal palace, surrounded by light, laughter, and love. And whenever she looked out at the night sky, she remembered the magic that had changed her life forever. And from that moment, they lived happily ever after.